Hi, welcome to We Care Homecare 101 podcast. Today, we're going to talk about choosing a caregiver. Choosing a caregiver and looking specifically at cultural competence. Hi, my name is Nancy Pierre, CEO of We Care Home Care and Training Services. Thank you for being here with me today. I wanted to take, and I feel like this is going to be very short, but it's going to give you food for thought when you're looking to choose someone to provide services in your home, which is an intimate setting, and they are taking care of your loved one. Language is always a concern if someone speaks a language other than English, right? And making sure to pair them with someone who speaks their language. I've gotten requests for a Korean speaking caregiver. I've gotten requests for Italian speaking caregiver. I believe my most recent request was for a Polish speaking caregiver. And sometimes it's kind of difficult to do because you would have to be probably in and around the communities where there are people who speak those languages and are willing to do this kind of work, who want to become a caregiver. So, when looking at pairing a caregiver with a client, you want to be cognizant of the language, so that barriers can be mitigated. One of the other things you want to think about is food, right? Say someone of Mediterranean or Southeast Asian culture, just like, or the Korean person that I was saying, she was dealing with dementia and she had a stroke. So there was some dysphagia. She wasn't able to speak freely. And so it would, for her, not that she didn't speak English, but it was easier if someone spoke Korean to her. And there's some, I would say, regression that does take place in the language centers as people age, because, they're not out and about, and they're not like, they don't have to speak English because they're not out and about in the English speaking environment, where maybe when they worked, when they were younger, they had to, because they, worked in a country that speaks English. So the language, the food, making sure that we cook specifically to cultural customs. And so, like, I'm gonna pick like Indian. I love Indian food. My goodness. Or I'm gonna pick an Arabic family, and that's one of the things that we have had to do. We are in the city of Patterson that has a considerable Islamic population, and I always say, like, I wouldn't want to send someone who doesn't understand the customs, the food, to someone's home who is, I'm going to say Islamic, because I want to make sure that the dignity and the respect is maintained for that person's religion and their customs, right? You're in their home. You're in that personal environment. So those things become very, very important. So for us as a home care agency, now it becomes important because you're not always going to get that fit, right? You're not always going to get I'm going to say a Spanish-speaking aide. We happen to have a lot of Spanish-speaking aides. To go to a Spanish-speaking client, and you might not, depending upon where they live, you may not be able to pair those two people together. And so it now becomes, your responsibility to mitigate that, right? So this elderly person will be in the home with an English-speaking person. Say the Spanish-speaking caregiver can't make it that day. So we had to make sure that they got clean, they got fed, and they got everything that they needed, but that particular person didn't speak Spanish. So it becomes important for us to use the different technologies that are at our disposal. Like there's I believe Google Translate, where the person can talk into the phone through the translator, and it will translate what they're saying, and then you can translate back to them. And you could do this text or voice, and this is a way to mitigate that language barrier and be able to still provide competent care and services. And I was talking about the Indian food because they're specific to their their spices and how they prepare their food. And so for me and for the family, I would have to find a caregiver who understands their customs, who understands the food, so that they could get the care that they need, that they want, and that mom or dad could still enjoy their culture, their customs, the smells that they're accustomed to. So, like I said, this video was not going to be long. My name is Nancy Pierre, CEO of WeCare Home Care and Training Services. This has been WeCare Home Care 101 podcast, cultural competence and preparing for the proper caregiver, the right fit. You could give us a call at 973-988-4417, and you can email us at info@ouicarellc.com. I will speak to you soon.